Hi, so thanks for having me. I'm Leah. I wear many different hats, but I think would say my main job, so to say, is that I'm a PhD candidate at the Faculty of Law of the University of Cambridge, researching international environment and climate change law. And in addition to that, I co-lead the Youth for Ecocide Law branch of Stop Ecocide International. And another job title hat that I'm wearing is I'm one of the exec directors of the Cambridge Pro Bono projects, where we conduct legal research on international criminal and public interest law in various topic areas. And alongside that, I write a legal newsletter called Legal Wednesdays to inform people about significant legal developments across the world, to raise awareness about what is happening and how we can use our legal toolbox for the good of the planet and for the ocean. So all in all, I work on sort of researching the emergence, the strength and the impact and significance of environmental laws to better protect nature and humans as part of nature. I think my professional journey started like during my childhood. I grew up in South Africa in the beautiful city of Cape Town. And this is where I really developed like a deep passion, appreciation of the ocean and the environment around it. And yeah, it really brought awareness to me around some of the issues that are impacting the ocean, from especially plastic pollution from like sort of a young age, always finding different, every beach time at the beach, you find different plastics in from all across the world. Like you find, the packaging is in different languages, and so that was really eye-opening. And when I was around 13 years old, I remember I read a story about whaling and the destruction of marine ecosystems, and I was like crying so much when I was reading it, and I promised myself, I don't want to feel helpless anymore, and I'm going to sort of dedicate my life to the protection of our planet. So I really knew from like a very early age, like I want to work in the environmental sphere. At 19 years old, I traveled to the other side of the world, and yeah, started sort of studying sustainable development and international relations. Was really interested sort of in the policy aspect. But also through my years there, discovered, you know what, I don't want to be in politics or policy. I'm actually really interested in the law, the legal aspect on how international law functions and how international law environmental framework works and how to improve it. So I was like, okay, after my undergraduate, I want to switch to like law. So I converted over to law and then also did my LLM. So my master in law at the University of Edinburgh. So yeah, was in Scotland for a long time, and then shortly after that LLM, I really found my research topic on which I wanted to research more and do more work on and build my expertise in, and that's when I started my PhD in Cambridge about 2 years ago now. So, and now for my PhD, I'm analyzing the emergence and significance of ecocentric legal trends, such as rights of nature and ecocide law, and and how that's interacting with and the significance of it within our international legal system. There's a different understandings of ecocentric actually, but ecocentric for me sees us as humans not as on top of a pyramid, but as part of the cycle of nature. Rights of nature is often used as a example of an ecocentric legal trend. And what is often misunderstood is that it sounds like, oh, you give nature the same rights as humans, which is not what it's about. It's actually quite different from human rights, but it's a way to increase the protection and standing of nature and important ecosystems, but also to change the worldview and conceptualization of nature, because we see nature as an object rather than a subject. And that's the same in law. It's seen as an object of rights rather than a subject of rights. And for me, this was something that really inspired me to go into this, because I was learning about these trends during my LLM in Edinburgh. And I was outraged that corporations and ships have more legal rights than nature does. And it's not seen radical at all that corporations or ships have rights. But still, if you go into legal circles and you say rights of nature, especially at the highest government level, like that's seen as radical still. It's changing for sure. And we've seen that change also a lot in Latin America. And that is evident also in the advisory opinion by the Inter-American Court on Human Rights that very much already ingrains rights of nature as a key concept and has no issue with that as being part of our system. And it shouldn't be, but still, unfortunately, there's a little bit of work to do to change that conceptualization around how do we see ourselves within the world, and to challenge that we're not like on top of a pyramid, but we're interconnected with the world. We're part of nature, and we have to give rights and recognition to the very ecosystems that are keeping us alive. I think young people, young professionals play a really significant role in advocacy and accountability because, we're the present, but also the future generation of saying, and that's it's symbolic in the way of saying that we are watching, we are holding actors accountable, and we are listening to the things that are being said, but also the not only the words but the actions that come out of it. And on the other hand, it's also about communicating some of these developments that are happening to the public, good and bad, to raise the profile of the issues, to call for stronger action. Having said that, I think young people and professionals should play an even greater role at conferences such as UNOC and should be given more opportunities for engagement. Start with the topic and the aspect of environmental protection that you are most passionate about. Don't necessarily choose the topic that's like trending, like choose the one that you're most passionate about or that you can relate to the most through personal experience, through that just, has a special place in your heart. Because I think if you have that, then everything, if we really like love, and value what we want to protect, then it gives us a different drive. And I think that's always been the strongest aspect for me, why I've been able to continue this environmental journeys since I'm so young, is because, I love uh, the earth and nature too much to not do anything. It just feels easier to be like, oh, I wish I wouldn't care, because then I wouldn't feel so much in it. But at the same time, I think choosing to care is a real like superpower. So leaning into that aspect is something I really encourage like everyone to like start with. And then ask yourself, what are your specific talents and interests and voice, and how can you use them? Like it could be law, but it could also be policy or on the ground conservation or scientific work. And yeah, and then take that work forward in the way that most makes sense for you as a next step. And I think we shouldn't like compare each other. At the end of the day, like comparison just like it's not productive, because you can't compare your chapter 1 to someone else chapter 10. And I've always been very strong in the aspect that I only want to be living my life, and I can only be living my life. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes of anyone's life, but we can make sure that we're living a life that, we're proud of. And um, yeah, that in some way or another contributes something to the global mission of protecting planet and people.